Insidious Out of the Further follows Gemma, a young mom who realizes she can travel to the further and take things from the further, but she is put in danger when she realizes she is not the only one who knows this. This is also the 6th in the timeline and 6th in the franchise. Now, up until recently, I've only seen Insidious The Red Door when it came out in theaters, but one night I ended up binge watching the first 4 in a row and had enough time to rewatch the 5th. So I already have the full video of that already up on this channel. So majority of this franchise was a first watch for me and an introduction to all these movies. So I didn't really grow up with nostalgia for any of these movies. And this is also not one of my favorite horror franchises, one of my least favorite horror franchises. So with that being in mind, very high expectations for this movie. The way I would describe it is a very basic Insidious movie. I didn't know what more they could do with this franchise. It just feels very basic and safe. So let's go ahead and get into the pros for this movie. The acting all around is pretty solid, including the children. I think the children do a good job with what they're given. The dentist scene is also very creepy. I've seen it a number of times in trailers. That's one of like the big trailers. Another one is the tunnel scene that's been big in trailers.
Adding me here. I also want to add, when there were scenes in the tunnel, it got like majority of the theater laughing at one point.
But the dentist scene, it did creep me out. I also do like the ending of this movie. I will say, watching this movie, I was most entertained when we got to the ending, and the idea that they use in the movie, I actually had a good time with and did like. The ending also meets a happy medium of a happy ending and a devastating ending at the same time with the stuff that goes on, and I do really like that. But that is all I actually really liked about this movie. I do have a couple of mixed. The biggest mix to me is going to be the demon that they present in this movie. It feels like the key face demon, just not as cool. I don't think it's as cool looking as the key face demon. Now, I should say this, the key face demon is my personal favorite of all of the demons in the franchise or any of the entities in the franchise. It just feels like it's one of them, just not as cool. The backstory, I will say, of the demon I found somewhat interesting, and the way they actually use something to get in the way I actually did like, but it just, the demon and what it does, it just reminds me too much of the other one. The postcard scene is also a mixed here. I don't entirely get that kind of post-credit scene. I don't entirely love it, don't entirely dislike it, so that's why it's here in the mixed. But going into the negatives, the sound, the music that the first few are known for. It is not as prevalent in the first one, except when it starts. It's more prevalent in the second half of the movie, and it still is very annoying to me. I think they try to do an obvious twist that is very obvious when you see it coming, especially in like the first scene, something is like mirror. I think it was done fine, but it's very obvious. Another part involving the child, I thought, again, very obvious. There's one part that I did not entirely see coming that I thought was kind of cool, but I will get to that. The way that they bring Elise back in this movie, because this does take place after the Red Door, was out there. It feels like they were like, all right, what is a way that somewhat makes sense that we can bring Elise back into the story? And the way they choose to do that is very interesting, I will say. I feel like a lot of people are gonna scratch their head when they realize how they do it, because of all the ways they brought her back, this is definitely one of the most crazy ones of them all. So yeah, that's kind of where I land with that. But that is all for the spoiler-free section. I don't have too much to talk about with this one because, again, it just felt like a very basic, safe, Insidious movie. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, you can go ahead and skip ahead to final thoughts. Spoilers. Let's talk about Elise. Now, Elise lives in the further, which is fine enough, but the way she's like brought in and explains to Gemma what is going on, and she monologues what happens throughout, like what happened after the Red Door and what painted and what happened there. Again, the way they just brought her back to that girl and how they communicate, you had to really double around that for it to make sense. And the one motivation, because Gemma does ask her, is she asked her, why do you help her? And she says help her mom, which is not entirely makes sense why she would put herself in danger for that, but that was just definitely out there. Comment down below what you think of the way that do that, because I don't know how people are going to feel about that. The family curse with the mother to the daughter was obvious, but I actually kind of liked that part of the movie, how it started with the mom and how she ended up mirroring it to her daughter later on. I thought it was kind of obvious that they were going for the daughter like they did beginning, but I do like the family curse stuff. I did not see that the demon actually lived in the main character's mom's mind. Did not see that coming entirely at all, and do like they did pull it off. I do think that was interesting and a layer to the full story, and do like how they do family story there. The demon, I believe his name is Cyrus Lamb, who's like basic cult leader. He does try to, why I compare him to the Keyface is he tries to do some stuff the Keyface does. It just doesn't look as cool. I don't think he also doesn't look as cool as Keyface Demon. He's definitely not my least favorite right now of them, but I don't know. The backstory with the cult is kind of cool. The way they actually put like the followers and 3 in there as an obstacle, kind of cool. Why would the cop boyfriend like talk to them like that? That was a really bad idea. That is where in my theater I was like, that is so stupid. Like, he doesn't even believe them fully at that point either. So that was just a big old question mark. They do have some nostalgia. They do bring back some of the ones I recognize from the previous movies. I think nostalgia is done fine. It's not overly in your face, but they are the demons that try to take over, so I don't know how to entirely just feel about that just yet either. The mid-credit scene where we see the dentist one doing like work on the Cyrus was, I don't know how entirely feel about that, because I mean, if he was a cult leader, wouldn't he have all these powers to fight himself against these things? Like, why they can just turn him in like that? And all because Gemma tricked them by bringing the house into the further. Wouldn't they realize that she was the one who did it and turn on to her? I don't know, that kind of part does lose me right there, admittedly enough. I don't even know. It's just, this is a very safe movie. The house part was fun. They, for the first time in a while, they did find an ending that was devastating and happy at the same time with the daughter, where she was on the table going through that. And a good job on the physical performance, because that was a really good physical performance right there from her. I kind of ran out of stuff to talk about for this movie. The further itself is, again, fine. The dentist office actually looked kind of, I don't know, mixed on that either. Overall, I would say this is a pretty basic Insidious movie. I don't have too much to talk about today, so comment down below if you saw Insidious. Did you like it? Not like it? I'll see you guys soon with a ranking of all the Insidious movies, and in the same video, the main demons from all of them. I'll see you guys there.